Welcome to episode 79 of the Toadstool Boardroom for the week of February 21st, 2024. My name's Logan Plant, and I'm joined this week, as always, by Justin Corice.
What's up, Logan? I'd never miss a show for any reason whatsoever.
No, not a science fair. You wouldn't do it. You just
Wouldn't do it.
And Chris Shriver.
Science rules!
We actually got an email about that science fair, so we'll want to hear about how your science fair was in a little bit, Justin. But first, we've got some big news to get to. Finally, after weeks of rumors, there was a Nintendo Direct partner showcase. Everybody's favorite type of Nintendo Direct aired earlier today, the day we're recording here on the 21st. And we're going to talk about a few games that we each want to highlight, but let's start with some general impressions on the presentation as a whole. We've been waiting for Nintendo to say something this year. They finally come out and drop this 25-minute pre-recorded file that they just drop on YouTube. It's not a live stream, nothing like that. And there was only one first-party announcement at the very end. Chris, what do you think of this event as a whole?
I think there were some very good things in it. There were some good surprises that I was hoping for and then received. And there were some things I didn't really care about. I think it was I'll say it was a average Direct.
How about you, Justin?
The feedback I gave you guys before the show was this could have been an email. It's unremarkable, I think. There were a couple things that are neat. Truthfully, when I look at the pretty long list of games that they talked about, the number of things that I think I will ever play whatsoever, it is a very low single-digit number, and frankly, it might not be more than one. At the same time, I saw a lot of things that I have, goodwill towards, stuff that I have positive feelings about, so it's not, a bad Direct by any stretch. Just nothing that... Frankly, nothing that generates any excitement.
I think I'm a little bit higher on this than both of you guys. I thought this was a good presentation. I think that sometimes Directs can fall into a trap of, it's all cozy games, it's all farming games, and besides what Nintendo brings to the table, it all kind of blends together. But I thought with this one, there were a lot of different genres. I think there was a nice mix of ports from other systems that are making their way to Switch, bringing back really old games like Star Wars Battlefront. I'm thrilled to see that coming back on Switch and all platforms, but it was announced here. And then some brand new stuff also from some indie developers and third-party developers. So I thought there was a lot to like. Granted, for it being a partner showcase, the expectations are automatically lowered compared to a full-length 40-minute Nintendo Direct, one of the flagship presentations. But for it being a partner showcase, I thought it was pretty decent, and I walked away with 4 or 5 things that I'm definitely going to play, and I think that most people could probably find 1 or 2 things. I'm curious, Justin, what's the one thing that you're for sure going to play out of this Direct?
Battlefront.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I will say it did hurt my old bones when you brought up a really, really old game and it said Battlefront, because I was a grown man playing Battlefront. So that was just a spear to this old heart of mine. So that's the one that surprised me. You can play Battlefront on things like Xbox using back compatibility. But this sounds like it has some new content, and it's going to have probably some pretty active servers with a solid player base for a while, I would think. Yeah. So you can actually get online and do big battles against other players, which is not something, frankly, I thought I would ever have the opportunity to do again. So I was pretty excited about that one.
Yeah, I'm very excited about 64-player online multiplayer. This is the Star Wars Battlefront Collection, which is coming out on March 14th, and that includes both Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, the original LucasArts ones, not the EA DICE ones that have come out in the last decade or so. These are classic, arcadey Star Wars Battlefront. These games are awesome. I played them so much with buddies when I was younger. I never owned it because I didn't have a PS2 or an Xbox. This wasn't on GameCube, right? So I played it at friends' houses at the time, and yeah, so much fun. Galactic Conquest and Star Wars Battlefront 2 is
in
awesome
particular.
mode.
Oh my goodness! You getting cards and power ups. So dear listener, if you don't know Galactic Conquest, it's sort of it's like separate from like the campaign, and basically you're dropped onto a map, almost like a game board, and you're taking over planets, and those open up like basically lines to get to other planets. There's also fleets that you may have to contend with, and I really like the like flight combat in this, because you can freely roam in your like TIE Interceptor or your X-wing, but then you can also board the enemy capital ships and take them out from the inside. It's really cool. It's really fleshed out, and it's a mode that I would just play like over and just finish a campaign, start a new one, finish a campaign, start a new one, just do it over and over again.
It's like Risk, but if instead of just rolling dice for the battles, you actually went down into the planet and played the battles in this Star Wars Battlefront gameplay. It's awesome. Chris, have you played the Battlefront games?
I did. I played them growing up. I specifically remember playing 2 for the first time because it blew my mind that it was you got a demo for it with Revenge of the Sith on DVD, and it blew my mind that you could put a DVD into an original Xbox, and it could have the movie and that on it at the same time. Like my brain couldn't compute that. But no, these games are great. I think the best thing about this is what Justin said earlier, is that now, because I don't know if like these games are still available for purchase on Steam. But I don't know that the servers are still up, and if they are, there can't be that many people playing them. So the best part about this is that you're going to get a whole influx of people that are going to experience this game for the first time, and then you're going to have returning players that they decide to pick it up. That, oh my gosh, now they have people to actually play again instead of bots.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal. I know several people who are going to pick this one up and play it when that comes out. So I'm looking forward to that one. I want to talk about Endless Ocean Luminous, because that is a Nintendo-published game. This is on Nintendo's calendar of Switch games they're publishing this year. It's getting a physical release. This is their May game. It's coming out on May 2nd, and it's not developed by them. It's developed by Arica, who developed the Endless Ocean series back when it started on the Wii as well. And this is a deep-sea exploration game. They really emphasized multiplayer in this one with, up to 30 players could explore the ocean together and just come across over 500 different species of aquatic life. And yeah, I thought that the gameplay footage looked a little choppier than I would have liked to see for a game that's 2.5 months away. We'll see if that shakes out any different as we get closer to launch, but you have to think that this is pretty close to a final version. I'm happy that a series is coming back that has a cult following. Like we've talked about, the Switch has been really successful at doing that, bringing back these games that haven't been seen in a long time, but I thought this one looked a little rough. And Chris, you were shaking your head like you agreed that it looked a little bit rough.
Yeah, I think this game looks real rough. Especially like Endless Ocean. It's almost like Pokemon for people that don't want to play Pokemon and don't want to battle. It's like a pacifist, chill, older person that just wants to kind of explore around the ocean. Like I'm trying to who's the target audience for Endless Ocean?
Sounds like you.
But no.
I'm just kidding.
Because on top of that, like, there's another game that's similar to this. It doesn't have online, but I think it looks and plays better than at least the previous Endless Ocean games, and that's Abzu. Mm-hmm. And that game's already on Switch. If you're not familiar with that, but maybe you're familiar with Journey, it's from a couple of the folks that worked on that. It's a similar kind of vibe. It's like Journey, but you're in the ocean. But yeah, Endless Ocean, I think it looks real rough around the edges. Like, you want to talk about an example of we really need new hardware, guys. It's this game. and the fact that it was their closer for the Direct, I was kind of like, maybe you should have shown this earlier and then made something else, even if it wasn't first party, that looked better. Like, I think Penny's Big Breakaway, which we'll talk about later, is probably a better showpiece for the console just because of how well optimized that game and that engine that team has developed is.
Yeah, Penny's Big Breakaway, I'm already playing it, and it is awesome. It is really, really awesome. I'm excited to talk about that one, but I want to hear if Justin has any thoughts on Endless Ocean.
I like the vibes of it. It like had this cool Zen like exploration kind of open-ended feel to it. This is one of the ones I put on the category of things that I have like goodwill for. I'm glad that exists. Not for me though. I frankly don't have time to just zen out in games.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're too busy diving into Hell right now, which I've done a couple times with you. And
I know we gotta get you back in there.
Blast. Yeah, we do. Now that I moved in, I can get back in. So
I just unlocked the highest difficulty level in it, which gets bonkers.
I am not even close to ready for that. I'm only on level 4 or 5 still, I think. So I'll get there eventually. I'll get there someday. But anyways, Endless Ocean, I want to point out this is getting a physical release from Nintendo, but it's another $49.99 game. So they're not charging the full price $60 for it, which I think is good. I think that would be a rough $60 drop if they sent this one out at that. So it's at the same $49.99 price point we've seen like Mario vs. Donkey Kong at, and a couple other things as well. So we'll see how that one shakes out. I want to see a little bit more of it. I think it could be fun to sail around, swim around with other players. Maybe if you had a couple friends that had it too. But I don't know. I'm struggling to see the merits of who this is for, besides people that have liked Endless Ocean on the Wii and are excited that it's coming back.
For those Jacques Cousteau fans out there, a lot of those big Cousteau heads.
Yeah. But yeah, Chris shouted out Abzu. That is a really cool one, so go check that one out because it does look like this, but a little bit better. Okay, let's talk about Penny's Big Breakaway. We've talked about this one on the show a couple of times. This is from a lot of the developers behind Sonic Mania. They went and formed their own studio, and this is their debut game from that studio. And it shadow dropped today. It's out on Switch, and it's out on all platforms and PC. And I bought it on PlayStation 5 because the Switch version does run at 30 FPS, and it's 60 FPS everywhere else. And for a game about fluid platforming movement, the frame rate was important to me, so I picked it up on PlayStation, but it's real good. It's real good so far. I only played about a half hour on my lunch break today, but it feels like 3D Sonic, the best parts of 3D Sonic, extracted and combined with Super Mario Odyssey platforming. Like, just the yo-yo that Penny throws feels like Cappy, in the way that you throw the yo-yo and then zip to the yo-yo to bounce off of it and get a better jump. It feels great. There's really cool momentum-based challenges, which is what I've always said Sonic should try to tackle. It should be about momentum rather than about speed. And Penny's Big Breakaway is entirely about momentum. It's about chaining together these moves to launch up to that platform that is really high up there, and when you get up there, there's a collectible. You can't just platform your way up to it. You have to like backtrack, start on this side of the map, and then get a really good run up and launch off this pad and do a flip in the air and pull yourself to your yo-yo and then do like a loop-de-loop and then launch yourself at the right angle to land on this thing. It's super cool. So I highly recommend checking that out if you like Sonic, if you like Mario Odyssey, if you like 3D platformers. I would say this feels like a game that should have been on the Dreamcast, but it's a modern game. So, it's incredibly cool.
Yeah, so I'm watching the trailer right now, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, this feels like a Dreamcast game, and I mean that in a good way. That is not derogatory at all. Like, it's colorful, it's really vibrant, it's smooth. The action looks really kinetic. It looks pretty good, I gotta say.
What do you think, Chris?
Oh, I can't wait to play this game. I think it looks incredible. It's like exactly the type of game that was made for me. I would not be surprised if I play this, and it's like in my top 3 for this year.
Honestly, once upon a time when like the most prestigious genre was like the mascot platformer, this looks like it would have been a gargantuan mega hit. And I hope it lands with people because it looks extremely well crafted.
Yeah, and everything that I've heard from the guys at John Litterman over at Digital Foundry is like a huge fan of this studio and a lot of the work that these guys have put into making this game. But a lot of what he's kind of covered over there, just as far as like what they figured out with the physics and the mechanics and their own engine that they've built from the ground up. Like they're like, no, we don't want to build this thing in Unity. We don't want to build it in Unreal Engine 4. We want it to be its own flavor and kind of control in its own way. And I feel like we're seeing a lot less games that are doing that. So the fact that we're getting a 3D platformer in 2024 that's doing that, and it's only $30, and it's like a locked 60 on most platforms, like you're checking every box, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that I don't know if it's going to click with everybody, because even for me, the first 5 or 10 minutes I played it, it feels weird. But once you kind of get it and get into the flow state of it, it feels really great. It's definitely one of those platformers that I think is going to be very easy to just get to the end, but to master it and speed run it, because time attack is a big part of this game, or to find all the collectibles that are hidden in places you have to do these crazy acrobatics to get to, that's where a lot of the challenge and the fun is going to be found. And already there's 3 collectibles, just like in a Mario game, 3 things to find in between the start and the goal line, and then you use those as currency to unlock the special world levels. And I just played the first level in the special world, and it was just delightfully challenging. I died probably 10 times on it. It was exactly what I wanted from a platformer. I love that brutally challenging stuff that a lot of Nintendo platformers like Mario Wonder just didn't really have. I love that game, but it was missing from that. And yeah, I'm excited to check out the rest of the challenging levels as I unlock them and get further in the game. But yeah, it's really cool. I'll have more thoughts on it next week, but I think this one's going to be a big hit. I'm hoping that platformer fans latch onto it and yeah, get this studio a big win right out of the gate so they can make something else cool next. I wish this was a Sonic game, though. I'll just say it. I don't know why it's not. Like, come on, Sega. Why didn't you give them the license for this? Because it would totally work. It totally would work as a Sonic game and would be really, really cool if it was. But anyways, that's Penny's Big Breakaway. It's out now on Switch. Yeah, $29.99. Speaking of Sega games, let's talk about one I'm less enthused about, which is Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. This is a brand new game in the Monkey Ball series, and if you listen to the show for a long time, you know I think that Super Monkey Ball 2 is one of the greatest games of all time. Just no holds barred. That game is incredible. The series has been largely awful since then, and I see them leaning into the same bad elements of recent Monkey Ball rather than trying to go back and recapture what made the originals good. The original is a hardcore single-player puzzle platformer marble maze game, and now it's this party game where you're playing bumper cars with 15 other monkey balls on the same course, and it looks like they're trying to capture some of that Fall Guys energy. There was one game where you're trying to collect bananas, one game where you're trying to like stay in a spotlight, which is straight out of Fall Guys. That is literally a game in Fall Guys. So it looks like they're just leaning into that party game kind of elements of it, and that's just not what I'm looking for. And it looks like it uses the same physics engine as Banana Mania, which was the remake of Monkey Ball 1 and 2, and that physics engine was awful. So I wish I could be excited about a Monkey Ball game in 2024, but I just can't be. I can't be excited about this. Chris, what do you think?
I mean, you've checked every box, but the physics engine right there, or that you mentioned, that is the crux of what makes Monkey Ball like what it is. From a stylization, like the art direction. I don't know what I'm trying to say. The way the game looks, they've been very consistent with the last 2 or 3 releases. Banana Mania and Banana Blitz HD. Yeah. I'm okay with them. Like it is very childlike looking, but I think the GameCube releases are more like it's the nature of it being on the GameCube. I think, and just a product of its time. Awesome. They still look awesome, and they look more like adult, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But the mini games in like Monkey Ball 2. It's not that they were an afterthought, but it was almost like a discovery of like, oh, wow. And there's this. Like on top of this great single player experience, there's this collection of minigames that are really, really good. And the ones that they showcased here do seem like they're more catered to like a Fall Guys type thing. Like if you're not showing me Monkey Dogfight or Monkey Target, Monkey Target, like you can play that game for hours. And if that's not here, then what are we doing?
Yeah, seriously, the minigames in Super Monkey Ball 2 have enough depth that they could have sold those 10 or 12 minigames as a game, and I think it still would have been good. Like, they're that good. And that's on top of the 150 levels that are in that thing. So
yeah, I appreciate that they're going to have this multiplayer mode, as an option, but if it's the only minigame option, that'll be a bit of a bummer. I want to like these games so much, and I bought both of the previous entries and tried playing them, and usually get to like the second world and get frustrated because I just can't like flip it back, and then I end up playing Monkey Ball on like the GameCube, and I just feel better about myself.
Banana Mania is practically unplayable because of how much they ruined the stage tilting physics. It doesn't work. Like the expert levels, which require like. In the GameCube version, it is 1-to-1. The stage moves at a 1-to-1 ratio to how the control stick moves. You have the exact precise control of the stage. But in Banana Mania, they made it so that the stage kind of reacts less to your twitchy movements. And I think they did that to try to make it easier and forgive kind of shakier players or things like that. But when you get to those later levels that require that pinpoint control, it's just impossible. It literally, and it's not even a fun challenge. It's just you're fighting the game, and it's impossible to improve the controls or really get better skill-wise because it's just so unpredictable and unreliable. Banana Mania was so disappointing for me. And I have a CRT, and I still just play the GameCube Monkey Balls on that because it's never going to get better than that. And Justin and I saw a Monkey Ball arcade machine at PAX, which we spent some time with.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
The line
Justin,
of people gathering behind Logan as he takes on these ultra hard levels and just crushes them one after the other. It was something to behold. And that's why when it comes to games like this, frankly, I just wait till I hear your opinion because you know what you're talking about. I will say, I looked at this game, and it's sort of similar to what you were saying. To me, it strikes me as, they want people to play this on Twitch. That's what they're going for. They want people to tune in. They want a bunch of creators to put on have their all different custom wacky monkeys that they throw in all the different ball colors and take on these challenges. And they want them to be the entertainment. So if that works for it, fine. Some charity streams, raise money for the American Heart Association, rolling monkey balls around. That's totally fine. But yeah, I would have to see something a lot more than just a bunch of levels and silly monkeys for this to pique my interest. And so I think that's what it'll come down to. Is if they do release it and they nail it and you say, hey dude, this plays amazing, okay, then I'll give it a look. But until then, it's not for me.
Yeah, and it just feels like a miss even if they're going for that streaming culture like you said, because this is a Switch exclusive. And it's not going to be free to play. So
this is a timed exclusive.
Huge.
We all know it is.
What was that?
This will be on the Switch for 1 year, and then it will make it to other platforms. Sega never leaves things behind.
Yeah, but at that point, will
on a
anybody
platform
care?
like that?
Will anybody care about this game at that point? Yeah.
But
I'm tired of games like this, trying to chase live service trends. Mm-hmm. They're making new Crazy Taxi also. We don't know what that's going to end up looking like. I just want a fun arcadey game. I'm intrigued by $60 for just a Crazy Taxi.
I'm really excited about Crazy Taxi.
Apparently the best version of Crazy Taxi in 2024 is in the new Like a Dragon game.
Wait,
really?
Seriously?
Yeah, so one of the mini games, and I forget about, and I'm not going to try and describe the exact mechanics of how they do it. It's not literally Crazy Taxi, but it's something that you do in the game that is ridiculous, you're an Uber delivery driver or something, but it's just Crazy Taxi, and it sounds hilarious.
That's awesome. Such a good fit. Mm-hmm. That is a crazy good fit. That's awesome. I wish that I was into the Yakuza.
Wait, but guys, what if it was Captain Falcon in a Yakuza Like a Dragon game, and you got to play Crazy Taxi and drive?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, so
every Yakuza game has a claw game with the monkey ball plushies that you can go and win.
All right, so I'm reading this from the IGN wiki. Crazy Eats is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth's version of Sega's Crazy Taxi. It's a minigame where you collect food and deliver it across the level to get money. When you're delivering, you can perform stunts to earn bonus cash, and then there's a lot more about it, and you get different ranks, and there's different food items you can do. And yeah, everything I've heard about it is awesome.
That's great. Sweet. I gotta look that up. Yep. I gotta watch some footage of that. That sounds awesome. Anyways, that's Banana Rumble. That's out June 25th as a Switch exclusive. Chris says for 1 year, so we'll see about that. You know I'm picking this up and playing it. We'll see how it goes, though. I'm not looking forward to it.
Looking forward to the Logan review.
What's up, Chris?
We're going to talk about this one later. Nintendo Switch Online members can redeem Earthbound Beginnings icons on Nintendo Switch. If that's not the biggest, yeah, that just happened. If that's not the biggest bag over the head punch in the face,
Okay, let's get there now. You brought it up, so let's talk
about it now.
I think that we're going to have some differing stances on this. So Mother 3 was a part of the Japanese Nintendo Partner Direct today. Mother 3 is joining the Game Boy Advance Nintendo Switch Online app, just like we have the Game Boy Advance Online app that has Mario Luigi Superstar Saga, Minish Cap, things like that. And of course, no mention of Mother 3 in any other regions because it only ever came out in Japan. Justin, you're the one who I don't know where you stand on this, so I want to hear from you first, and then I'll know how the conversation's going to go.
How I feel about it being Japan only?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
how do you feel about it, and then what do you think it means for the franchise?
I mean, I don't feel extremely strong about it because I've never played any of the Mother games, and so I don't have any tie to it. I don't have any appeal to it, and so I will say, as somebody who I would consider myself like an informed observer of it, just because of my work, like just, like in video games in general. It strikes me as a little bit funny. Like, man, you guys cannot catch a break, can you? You literally cannot get a single win. I don't know why they can't just like release it with English subtitles and text or something like that. Honestly, from afar, it looks like they're doing it on purpose. And it makes me laugh.
Chris, where are you at on this?
I do agree that I feel like they're doing it on purpose at this point, especially after watching the Earthbound documentary.
Just spite.
just spite. What I will say is, where I think people, at least where I'm getting upset about it, is you look at, for the longest time, we were looking at the Switch Online lineup, and it was, where's Super Mario RPG? And then we got a remake of it. We never saw Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and then we got a remake of it. Earthbound Beginnings, Earthbound, and Mother 3, in Japan at least, are now all on Nintendo Switch Online, which to me says they have no plans of ever doing anything with this franchise or remaking at least any of those 3 games in the next 3 to 5 years.
Or at least on this platform. We'll see how all this NSO stuff carries over. I hope it just will, but you never know with them until it's a sure thing. That's a good point, though. That is a good point.
That's my concern.
It doesn't show up. Yeah, is there?
Yeah.
I guess the Oracle games too appeared, and we never got remakes of those. And they just plopped them onto Switch Online. That is a nice pattern that you've noticed. So yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly disagree with the notion that they're doing any of it on purpose out of spite. In Japan, Mother 3 is just a game that came out that people like. It's just a game. They don't know about any of this. Well, some people might know, but it's not a big deal that we never got it over here. It's like, what are they supposed to do? Not release it in Japan because it never came out here? Like, no, that's silly. Like, it's just a GBA game that they added to Switch Online today. That's it. I do think the icons thing is weird. So I'll give you that. I have to sit on that for a little bit to see if that changes my mind. I think that's weird.
Caused them to do that? Is it to remind everyone that, hey, you're not getting Mother 3, but by the way, you can play this old NES game in this franchise?
Or did they just drop Mother icons in Japan with all 3 games, and then we just got the ones that don't include?
Yeah, but then why wouldn't we get Earthbound too?
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
None of it makes sense.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, it's just a game. It's just a game in Japan. It's not this holy grail of lost Nintendo media that would never made it over to our shores like it is to us. It's just the 3rd game in a series that they had got all 3 of. We only ever got 1 originally, and then a second one 30 years later. Like, it's, yeah. But no, I am sad that they're probably never going to do anything with it. That is a bummer.
I certainly, I would like it to come over. If it did, there's always the possibility that I'm going to play the games and fall in love with them, and then I will also be a sicko desperate for Mother 3. And I want, my friends and other people who like them to have access to it. How hard can it be to do?
So I can say, at least they talk about it a little bit in that doc, where apparently the way that text appears in Mother 3, like the person that did the translation had to go in, and every single character is an individual block, and like not every Japanese letter or Japanese word translates exactly like so everything fits with an English. So like he had to do some weird wizardry there to get that to work. And I don't know if at this point it's a GBA game, so like Nintendo's probably not going to go back and localize that. Like Earthbound Beginnings was done, like it had been translated, and there was a ROM card, or there was a cartridge floating around for a super long time with that game on it, and Nintendo just decided not to release it. So like them putting the ROM on NSO or the Wii eShop wasn't that big of a lift. Mother 3 is a bigger lift for them, unless they're just like, hey, we're going to take the translation and take the disclaimer out of the beginning of it.
Do.
Yeah, they would never do that.
Never be a thing.
Yeah, they would never do that.
There are ways to play Mother 3. So, yeah, I mean, you can. If you want to play the fan translation, You just can. So
You can.
I personally never really. I love Earthbound. I've played Mother 3. I've personally never understood the outcry, the clamoring for this game from people. When
I
there's
think
a
it's-
fan translation that exists, just go play it, right?
I think it's the people that lived through the waiting. I think that's where it largely comes from, and then you have a lot of people bandwagoning on the end of it.
Yeah. I get that, but it's like, I honestly wonder.
It's not like you don't have a means of playing it.
What percentage of the people who are begging for Mother 3 have rolled credits on Earthbound? Actually, I want to know the number.
Yeah,
Because-
that's a
Could be a
fair
poll question.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, honestly, I feel like sometimes people just join into the complaining on things, and I think this is one of those cases. I'm not denying there's a huge Earthbound community that's passionate and awesome and wants to see the franchise live on. I totally get that. I 100% get that. But Nintendo has recognized Earthbound. They've put it out on their last 3 consoles in a row, right? Like, it is a virtual console staple now. It was unplayable and inaccessible for a very long time, and now it is. And I think Earthbound is the better game, personally, having played both. So I would just say I'm fine that we just have that one over here. But yeah, it's not for me. Like, I want to see F-Zero GX, but I'm not devastated that we're not seeing it come back. Like, I want to see my favorite franchises live on, but I have the old versions of them, like Monkey Ball. I'm mad at the current direction of it, but I still have the originals and the old ones, and those are playable. And yeah, granted, not everybody is gonna play fan translations and play ROM hacks and things like that. So I do get it from that angle. But I feel like the people who know about Mother 3 are entrenched enough in gaming as a whole to figure out how to play Mother 3, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, everybody who knows about it knows that there are means to play it. That's my take on Mother 3. I don't think we need it. And yeah, I'm ready to close the chapter on it. I don't think it's going to happen, ever. And I'm okay with that. An Earthbound remake, I still think could happen at some point, and I still would like to see that.
Yeah, I like to see that.
Like I said, yeah, they've recognized it, and it exists, and they just remade Super Mario RPG, and I
And
feel like
something
Earthbound's the
of
logical
that
next
scope and scale seems perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, so we'll see. I want to give a quick shout out to Arranger, a role puzzling adventure. This was one of the early games in the Direct. It's an indie puzzle game, top down, where that takes place on this grid that moves as you move as the character, and I just thought it looked really, really neat. Super cool puzzles, a little bit Zelda-like, just in its presentation and probably some of the puzzle solving. So, yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on this one?
I thought it looked great. No, same as you. It reminded me a little bit of probably the art style Braid. If
I
anybody's
believe that
familiar
somebody
with that.
involved in this game was involved with Braid. You nailed it.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Nailed
Look
it.
at that.
Yeah, I got a press release about this game. I'm going to pull it up right now because I think that you're exactly on the money.
That is very funny.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it just looked different.
Yeah, it is David Hellman's of Braid unique painterly art style. So you were exactly right. Yeah. So nicely done on that.
Look at me go.
Justin, any thoughts on this one?
I'm not a big fan of puzzle games, so I don't think I'm going to pick it up. But this is I really like the art style. I like the way you clearly have to think several steps ahead in very rigid, direct lines to get through the puzzles. I kind of want to see. I would love to hear that there is a demo or something coming out because I kind of want to get my hands on it.
Yeah, maybe there will be. It's not coming until summer, so possible that it could get a demo. That would be great to see. And then I gotta say here, after all the drama of the last 2 weeks, Xbox games are now coming to Switch. I don't know why we needed that podcast where they said essentially nothing last week before this. I feel like this could have just happened and everyone would have been okay. But Grounded and Pentiment are coming to Nintendo Switch. Hi-Fi Rush was announced for PlayStation 5. No Switch word on that one. Maybe they're working on a version that maybe it's taking a little extra work, or maybe it's just not coming. I don't know.
I mean,
Chris
maybe
thinks it's not coming.
Maybe it's a frame rate thing.
Yeah.
I think
because
it's
it's a rhythm game. Like, imagine playing Guitar Hero with the frame rate all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And this is the action video game version of that. So I could see that potentially being an obstacle.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is it does need. I feel like it's a very rare example of a game that needs to be 60 FPS. And it's a really dang good looking game. I don't think it's possible to play that game on Switch.
Maybe it's a Switch.
Next gen, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sea of Thieves is the other one that's coming to PlayStation, but not Nintendo Switch. And I thought that would have been fun to see a rare game come to Switch.
I would love to see it. That's like near the top of my list of games that I wish would work on Switch. But like, I had it on the Xbox One. I played it on the Xbox Series X mostly, and it's a gorgeous game, and it pushes the hardware. Honestly, like when you play with like people on other consoles, one of my good friends that I play with was still playing on the Xbox One. And like every time he died, it would take him like 4 times longer to like come back to life just because of the loading screens. And so like there's a lot going on there.
So those are the Xbox games coming, but Pentiment is really cool. It's a really cool adventure game.
Very good fit for the Switch.
Yeah. And that's out tomorrow. I was really happy with this direct. There was basically 3 shadow drops. You had Penny's Big Breakaway today, Pocket Card Jockey is today, and then Pentiment is tomorrow. So a lot of immediate stuff, which is very, very cool. Chris, we got to talk about Suika Game multiplayer mode. That is also out today. So another shadow drop.
It is.
Have you tried it already?
No, I did buy it, but I have not tried it yet. I'll probably try it tomorrow, or Friday, or this weekend. But yeah, they basically they took a lot of the basic multiplayer modes that exist in Tetris. There's like a time attack mode. There's one where you can throw basically garbage at the other player by combining fruit. And then I think there is one where it's just like a score chasing one. You see how many points you can get. Yeah, my wife and I are both very excited to play this together.
Awesome. Yeah, we went from not knowing what this game was, it was this thing on projectors, to now it's in a Nintendo Direct. Like, that's a pretty crazy story for Suika Game over the last several months. And then, Chris, you also wanted to talk about Pepper Grinder, which is an awesome 2D platformer coming from Devolver. That's coming on March 28th, and there's a demo out today. This game looks really cool.
Yeah, so demo for this came out a couple weeks ago on Steam. I think it was during Steam Next Fest. But it's great. Imagine yourself navigating through a 2D pixelated level with a giant drill, and you can sort of drill through the earth like a dolphin and like pop back out, and then you try to gather as many gems as you can. This is going to be one that is going to be really cool to watch during like Summer Games Done Quick. And things like that. Like if people speed run this and get really, really good at it, it'll be like really impressive to watch. This has been one that has been, I think, on a lot of people's radar for a really long time. So it's really exciting to see that it's finally got a release date.
Yeah, I love the art style of this one. Really nice pixel art. I saw it at PAX West, but I did not have an appointment or stand in line to play it, but it's been on my radar since then. Justin, is there anything else from the Direct you want to shout out before we move on?
Honestly, a number of things. Because, like I said, there are a lot of things that I have some pretty good will towards. I'm always happy anytime we try and get the Contra franchise up and running again. Frankly, the classic Rare games that they announced are pretty great. I like Killer Instinct was amazing when it came out back in the day. Battletoads is about as hard to beat 'em up as you're ever going to play. RC Pro-Am was my jam, and when we talk about old games, that's an old game. That's when I actually was a kid for. And so I'm going to take full credit at that making me feel young again. So there's a couple I like. A colleague of ours, another freelancer, Christina Alexander, put this post on Twitter comparing the old and new Epic Mickey. Oh my god, I can't believe how much better in particular the lighting. It looks incredibly different, so much better. I missed it the first time through. I don't know, like I don't want to spend full price on it, but so it's one that I'm pretty intrigued to like check out because it was beloved when it dropped. I remember when it released the first time, and I missed it entirely. So I'm curious about that. I played Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin. I really like it. It's honestly more like a Pokemon game. You gather other monsters. You call them monsties. You engage in turn-based battles. Like they're cute. They're simplistic. They're kind of like kid-oriented, but like they got a lot of heart. And I do like the Monster Hunter universe where your job isn't exclusively to like actually like hunt monsters. The whole idea of like, people living in harmony with them is really kind of cute and really sweet. So I appreciate that quite a bit. And then the last one I'm going to shout out was not in the American Nintendo Direct. It was for this game called Reinatus, which is a new action RPG that they announced in the Japanese-only Direct. Check out the trailer. It looks like anime action game number 644, which is fine if you're down with that sort of thing. But I will say the pedigree of the people working on it is nuts. So it was written by Kazushige Nojima, who is known for helping write Final Fantasy VII and the Kingdom Hearts games. He's like a frequent collaborator of Nomura over the years, and he's written, like, he helped write Final Fantasy X and X-2. The composer is Yoko Shimomura from Super Mario RPG and from a lot of these other things that I just mentioned, contributing to the Final Fantasies and the Kingdom Hearts and Xenoblade Chronicles and like later Parasite Eve games. The director is the director from Trinity Trigger, which is a game that I didn't play but looks really, really awesome. And so it's one that I hope we get some kind of Western release, because between like looking like a style of game that I really like and having absolute bangers of talent at the helm, it is extremely on my radar right now, and I want to see what happens with that. So I'm keeping my eye on that. Hopefully other people have the same enthusiasm as me, and that leads to some interest of folks.
Yeah, that game looked really cool. That was a bummer that one was not in our Direct. I was surprised by that one a little bit, that one did. I'm sure that one's going to get localized. There's no way with those names attached that it's not going to, I think.
Yeah, that seems like new franchise syndrome, like them just being too afraid to release it in the West.
Yeah. But that is outrageous talent attached to that.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Epic Mickey is also a cool one. Yeah, it's just another 3D platformer. I remember when that came out at the time and feeling like it was kind of marketed really heavily and kind of a big deal at the time. And I remember it just being okay. I think that I'm excited to see it on better hardware than the Wii. Like that fresh coat of HD paint, I think is going to do wonders for this game, because I remember it just not looking as good as I wanted it to on the Wii, which is how I felt pretty much about that entire generation. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the Wii, so I'm excited this one's coming back. I think that's a cool one. I think that Mickey Mouse is kind of underused as a video game character. Like, he's in Kingdom Hearts. He had that Disney Illusion Island last year, but like, there's not that many games, I feel like, that take advantage of the Disney stable of characters. So this is a good start back in that direction a little bit.
Yeah, and like conceptually, the way the scenario deals a lot with like abandoned Disney characters over the years is actually really cool and frankly more introspective than we can generally trust Disney to be with their properties.
Yeah, very true. Anyone see Wish? Yeah. How about you, Chris? What do you think of Epic Mickey?
I enjoyed it a good bit when it originally came out on the Wii. Honestly, I saw it when I played Epic Mickey 2 a little bit and wasn't a huge fan on the PS3. Yeah. And when I saw that's what this was, my brain just kind of shut off and I stopped paying attention. So like I kind of scrubbed through the Direct. So I'll have to go back and actually watch the gameplay for that, because I saw a CG trailer. And actually, watch the gameplay for it. I don't know that I'll actually pick it up because I have played that game before. And kind of like Logan said, like I think it was good. I think if I played it now, I'd probably be like, it's okay. And there's just other games that are like vying for my time at this point.
Yeah, I don't know how much this is going to cost. I'm not sure if we've gotten a price on this one yet, so that will be a big factor if I pick it up or not. So if it's like $40 or less, that would be nice. If it was 50 or 60, probably a pass for me. But we got a question at toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com, which you can always email with any questions that you have for us. This one comes from Chad, and Chad asks 2 quick Direct related questions for your consideration. Which game are you most excited to play from the Direct, and which game were you most hoping to see that was not featured? I'll jump on question 2 first. Dragon Quest III Remake. I really was hoping that Square would bring Dragon Quest III, the HD 2D version that they announced. You may have seen this on Twitter 1,000 days ago, and there have been 0 updates on this game in the last 3 years, and it's a bummer. I was feeling like this year was the year for it, but I guess I thought this would have been the event to roll it out. Because I think it's a Team Asano game, which is the team that makes the Octopath Travelers, the Bravely Default, and made Live Alive. I think that they're developing this, and they also made Triangle Strategy. They put out pretty much a game a year. I was thinking this was going to be this year's game, and I really wanted to see it. It's been too long since we've heard from mainline Dragon Quest stuff. We've gotten a lot of spin-offs, but 12 and 3 Remake were both announced at that same Dragon Quest presentation in early 2021, and it's just been nothing since then, and that's been disappointing, because the 30 seconds of footage we have looks awesome, but yeah, there's just been nothing more since. But either you guys have something you wish had been here that wasn't, besides Nintendo games?
I mean, not counting Silk Song.
That counts. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that I feel like I not expect, but I hope for that one every direct at this point. Even though I feel like you talked about it in our Discord, but it probably will show up at an Xbox event because it is a day one Game Pass game. Another one that I actually forgot about because originally when I thought about it, and it would probably be in an indie direct, honestly. Yacht Club Games at one point talked about. When they were done making Shovel Knight, they talked about, we want to make a game that is reflective of each generation. So, like, if you look at Shovel Knight, that is one like that's more of an NES style. And then they talked about, we're really looking at the N64 and a lot of the interesting things that have happened there.
That's cool.
I would love to see them make like an N64 style 3D platformer. I don't know that they've never announced anything beyond like that nugget of knowledge. They did announce Mina the Hollower.
Mina the Hollower too. That game's not even out.
That game's not even out yet. And that was a Kickstarter. So it's been a while I feel like it's been a while since we've heard about that game. So I was kind of hoping for that as well, but
Yacht Club would have been good to show up. The Plucky Squires, another one. That's one I'm looking forward to. That wasn't here.
That
either.
got a trailer today, I think.
Oh, it did today? Wow.
Yeah, but it wasn't at
Why
it wasn't at the direct.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Justin, any picks from you?
Yeah, so I was definitely thinking contextually with the possibility of seeing more Microsoft-owned properties come over to Nintendo Switch and things that I think could run on it. I think we should, not saying we will, but I think we should in the future see the Psychonauts games come to Nintendo. I think they're such a perfect fit. Like colorful platformers, I think they would run well. I think the art style would play well. I think that they're so they're not great games because of technical merits. They're great games because of good design and extremely hilarious writing. Psychonauts 2 is a Xbox exclusive made by Double Fine, and I think that
I think Psychonauts 2 is on PlayStation. I think that was already multi-platform.
It is,
because it was like before they acquired them.
It's not on Nintendo, and that's a place I think it would do great.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I like that game. I've played a little bit of it, and I played it like through the cloud streaming app on Xbox, and just wished I was playing it on my Switch because that latency was annoying for a platform.
Just right here, just run around with little Raz getting in people's brains.
So, and then Chad asked about our favorite game in the Direct. Mine was it's Penny's Big Breakaway. I've been waiting for that game. I've been following it for a long time, and I've now played it, and I really like it. But in terms of new announcements, probably the Arranger, a role puzzling adventure that I talked about a little bit. I think that one's really on my radar now. Chris, your highlight of the Direct?
Literally everything you just said.
Those two? Yeah, those two.
Yeah,
really
I'm in
cool.
the exact same boat. Yeah.
Justin?
For me, it was Battlefront, but I will say I'm pretty intrigued by Shin Megami Tensei 5. I've never played a Shin Megami Tensei game, but I do like the Persona series a lot. And so, like, maybe that's my gateway drug into the mainline series. So I'm going to keep an eye on this and see how this one looks, because that might be what I pick up.
Nice. Yeah, that's Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, which is like the expanded version of 5, like the Persona 5 Royal to Persona 5.
Because Atlas always has to do their expanded version. Yep.
Yeah.
Whether it's Persona,
We
Shin
talked
Megami
about the
Tensei,
Direct.
Catherine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Catherine, too. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
They
like to double
Radiant
dip.
Historia.
Yep.
Uh-huh. we talked about the Direct for a long time, so we've got to get through these next topics pretty quick so Chris can talk about Mario vs. Donkey Kong because he has some thoughts. But a new report has said that Nintendo Switch successor is coming in 2025. Guys, I'm so sick of talking about this. I'm not going to lie. So this was reported by Bloomberg, VGC, and Eurogamer, claiming that Nintendo's telling publishers that Switch 2 is expected to ship March 2025 at the earliest. So a little bit of a delay. Let's skip over the discussion of if this is true or not. We can table that for another time. Let's just look at what we have now. This lineup in 2024, no new console this fall, if that's a possibility. Chris, how do we feel?
I think it's going to be a pretty dry fall.
Seems like that across the industry, not just Nintendo.
Yes.
Kind of everywhere. You have PlayStation saying nothing new from us this year.
Nothing this year.
Yeah, and then Nintendo, they're not going to roll out some surprise Mario game, like big tentpole platformer. They might have Wind Waker, Twilight Princess in the fall or something like that, but it's not going to be anything new and huge.
Not to get too into the weeds with this, but what I find so interesting about this, not just with Nintendo, but with everyone, is I feel like last year we were inundated with like gangbuster game after gangbuster game every other week. And Nintendo, for the most part, I think over the past couple of years has done a fantastic job of spacing out releases. I feel like we all can kind of sit here and conjure that they probably sat on Metroid Prime and Mario Wonder for a good long while. And we're just like, nah, baby's cooked. And Pikmin, we're just going to let them sit and not touch them. Let marketing do its thing. And it, for the most part, it was pretty successful. And I think now what we're feeling is the after effect of COVID and what, that, well, not, I don't even know if I would call it poor planning, but just like things that are out of the control of a lot of these companies. But I find it interesting that like the third parties didn't coordinate better with some of these like platform holders to be like, hey, we have X amount of AAA games coming out this year. We have nothing next year though. So
yeah, I know it's almost like post COVID. Like COVID slowed everything to a halt, and then everybody finished their game at the same time after development got a little bit more back to normal, and now everybody's on this same cycle.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo, the Zelda team, Respawn shipped Star Wars Jedi last year. Like all these huge games. We just got a FromSoft game. Sony Santa Monica, Guerrilla, who makes Horizon. They all have shipped within the last 2 years and are now all on the same cycle. So, man, 2028's looking real good when they're all ready to ship another game again. Like, that's what it feels like. I personally don't mind, though, because I'm fortunate enough to have all the platforms. I still haven't finished Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I still haven't finished a lot of these games that are huge that I still want to play. And then there's games coming out left and right all the time. That like, Helldivers 2, I could put 100 hours into that this year. Easy. So I'm personally fine with it. But it is strange. It's going to be very different than last year where it felt like you could not even keep up with everything that happened. And now this year, it isn't going to be like that. Justin, I want to hear from you about the lineup we've got. Industry as a whole, but also Switch specifically.
Yeah, my opinion hasn't changed a lot from the last couple months of discussion, where it seems like the lineup sort of is built to peter out over the summer. And without anything to release in the fall, it seems like there's going to be a big hole. And so I will say, one, this seems well reported by multiple reputable outlets. Just going to say that. Two, that being the case, the biggest thing that I can't get out of my head is why. Like, what is the reason for it? It seems like on paper, it's a perfect time for it, given the age of the console, given how they've set up their lineup of software, given the ability to sell a lot of units during the holiday season. And so I'm really curious about why. Is there a specific strategic decision? Are there supply constraints? Are they anticipating hardware revisions that they don't want to compete for dollars with from some of the other major competitors? I don't know. And we may never know. We're certainly not going to know anytime soon, I would think. And so that's the biggest thing that has me wondering. And so as it is, I'm hopeful that they do have a couple of things in their back pocket to put out, like to carry us into the fall season. I do worry that if they were planning on software for the fall, that means that hardware for the fall, that means that there's software, and so a lot of the resources are going into software that they then cannot release, and so we might just be looking at a bit of a drought this year. So it's going to be a weird year.
Yeah. I don't like to feed into the Wind Waker Twilight Princess rumor mill.
Just give it to us.
If this is true and they were planning for hardware this fall, which I believe they were, I 100% believe that, and it is going to slip to March, why not turn around and get those 2 Zelda games as your big October
Perfect
game?
time for it.
We're going to have a Pokemon in November. Like, get these Zelda games on Switch. It's the time. And I'm not even coming from a place where I believe the rumors that they've been cooking these for. I say, even if they haven't even thought about doing it, you could start work on that today and ship it in 7 months. You could. Wind Waker HD originally was a 6-month turnaround from the GameCube version. They could probably do it in 2 weeks. Like, I don't know how it all works, but it can't be that difficult.
Control save as Switch. Like, what are we?
Yeah, come on. Right? Just change the file extension.
Yeah, they can do it. So I wouldn't be shocked if
copy the disc on the little cartridge and
good to go.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. So I think this is a software thing. I think
that's what I was going to say too. Yeah.
You go for it. I want to hear what you think.
No, I feel like they maybe have 1 or 2 titles that are like, we have to launch this thing with this game.
Not ready or something.
Yeah, Mario's not ready, or Metroid or something. Like, there's some reason that they're like, we need this thing to be huge out the gate. And it's
Switch
just
Sports,
not there yet.
Just not ready yet.
It's just not there. Yeah.
They're still tooting bowling.
Exactly.
I think that the next console is going to be a significant hardware leap. The Wii U and the Switch were fairly similar. And I think that we're going to get an upgrade, and that maybe Nintendo's taken some time to figure out how to do that. And they're getting up to speed on 1080p 60 FPS development. And
it turns out this is hard.
Yeah, exactly. They're delaying Mario to March, and in turn delaying the Switch 2 to March.
Yeah.
If it's
side by side.
If it's not software, then it's definitely hardware, and it's them looking at the number of handheld PCs that are in the market and saying, okay, we need to maybe not outperform them, but we need to be powerful enough to try and keep up with them.
Right. Suddenly they're competing with other people for like 7 or 8-inch LCD screens when they weren't before.
Yeah. It's almost like the product that they made was a really good idea.
I know.
I will just say, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't know how big the crossover is, but I am worried about this. This quote said March 2025 at the earliest. You better get out in front of GTA 6, because that's all anyone's going to be talking about for months after it comes out. I know it's not going to be on Switch. It's not an exact competitor, but GTA 6 will be a bigger deal than a new Nintendo platform.
You're also assuming that GTA 6 will release that year. Every Rockstar game... I know, but every Rockstar game has also been delayed since, I think, that's GTA 4.
Was Red Dead 2 delayed?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. All right, our next topic was going to be Pokemon Presents predictions, but instead I'll just say we're probably going to get a new game that I imagine will launch in November. It's that we'll know next week. That Pokemon Presents is set for 6 a.m. on February 27th, so we will talk about that
Let's
next
go
week.
something.
Let's go something. We have to get into Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Chris and I have both played a significant chunk of it. I'm at the final world. Chris is done with 6 worlds. And Chris, you told me before the show you're done.
Yeah, I think I'm done with this game. I got like real annoyed with this game. So my problem with it, I think there's a lot that it does right. I want to say that out the gate. I think there are a fair amount of levels in the middle of it, because it is a very short game, that they start to do the thing where you complete the level and you feel good about it. You feel smart that you were able to figure out what it is you need to do. The first 2 worlds, throw them away. They're like child's play. They're teaching you how to play the game. And I understand they have to do that because they're introducing new mechanics, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get to the ice world. And I think that's the world that really starts to show how badly this game controls, because this game doesn't control like any other Mario game that you've played recently. I'll say that. I think it controls like Jumpman in Donkey Kong controls, and that's the point. But where my brain starts to fall apart is it looks like a modern game, so I can never gauge how far Mario can or cannot jump. And it just like I'll die. I feel like I die in really cheap ways in this game, and it's not like I know what I have to do, but then all of a sudden like something will happen, or like a pixel of my shoe will hit a Shy Guy and I'm dead. It just feels very unfair.
It's definitely not as clean as a Super Mario Brothers game where
Right.
what does landing on the top of a Goomba look like versus the Goomba hitting you, right? That's very clear in Super Mario games. It's not here.
Yeah, like part of the what makes it clear in an old game is because it is a pixel that has a flat line. You understand where that hitbox is, and if you look up when the Crash Insane trilogy came out, people were talking about how when Crash would jump, it seemed like you weren't making jumps because like he would slide off of a platform like because he was just a little bit too short and it never felt right. And there's a picture out there somewhere where they show the hitbox and it's shaped like a pill. So like you'll hit a certain corner and like the round of it will cause you to fall off the edge. And it's a similar type of thing here, but it's with enemies, which is a weird position to be in. So like you might think you're jumping on top of a Shy Guy, which doesn't in this game doesn't actually like kill him. It's just you could stand on him and then pick him up and throw him. And I feel like it never feels right whenever I'm doing anything in this game.
Yeah, Mario is one of the most joyous characters to control in pretty much every game he is in Super
Except
Mario
for this
Odyssey. Except what?
I said except for this one.
Oh, except for that. That's what I was going to say. This is not a Super Mario game, right? This is Mario versus Donkey Kong, and Mario just doesn't feel good. He just feels bad to control, and that is such a tough thing to say about a Mario game because it's usually not true, and it's very methodical, right? It's just it's tough, right? You see Mario in HD, voiced by Charles Martinet, by the way. I want to throw that out there because they just reused his voice clips, and you expect him to feel a certain way, and it just doesn't. It does not feel like that, right? It does feel like you're right. It feels like Donkey Kong, which it is, and we should judge it as such. But it is still hard to disassociate. I'm looking at Mario, but he does not feel like Mario. And that's rough. And on top of that, go ahead, Chris.
The only other thing I want to add is if you go back and play the GBA version, I don't feel this strongly about it because it looks as bad as it does compared to this game, obviously. So I know what to expect out of those controls. Like I really think it's the modern graphics that are combined with this old school gameplay that's really kind of throwing me off.
But I honestly got used to how Mario felt pretty quickly, and I actually liked the Ice World a lot. I thought it was one of the stronger worlds. It's one of the new ones that they added into this version of the game, and I liked the puzzle design in it a lot. But for me, the puzzles are just mostly too easy. Like Chris said, the first two worlds are nothing, and then you get the first new world they added, which is the Merry Mini Land, and it's pretty cool. It uses some fans in some interesting ways. There's some nice puzzles in there. Then you're back to the GBA stuff, which is just so basic. And earlier we called this like, oh, it's Captain Toad, but in 2D. It's really not. It's like you see the solution to the puzzle, and then it's about fighting the stiff controls to resolve it. And that's the game. And it's just not great. It's not very good. It's disappointing. I love puzzle games. I love platforming games, but I'm sitting here playing this, and I'm like, it feels like a chore to me. It feels like I'm playing this just because of this podcast so I can sit here and recommend it or not, and I don't recommend it. I think this is a fairly mediocre offering from Nintendo so far, and I haven't gotten to some of the bonus stuff. There's some expert levels, which hopefully the puzzles are a little bit more complicated when you get to that, but so far it's just feel like I'm marching through a pretty repetitive, I don't know, it's a slog. It's a slog, is how it feels.
I felt like I was playing it as a job, like for this podcast. Not that this podcast is a job, but it was like the moment that it started to not be fun and be frustrating and feel like a chore. That's when I was like, you know what? I don't need to. I have an opinion. Like I know what I feel about this game, and it's not positive.
And then I get to the end of each world has a Lemmings type level where you have to lead 6 mini Marios into a toy chest. I can't stand those levels. I hate it when I get to them. I think they're kind of miserable, just guiding around these lemmings in a format that just wasn't really built for that, right? Like in a game where you're supposed to guide a group of things like Pikmin, where the whole game is designed around that central mechanic, it works for me. But where this is a puzzle platformer where I'm controlling Mario, and then I'm controlling Mario but having to guide these 6 toys, and it's only 1 level out of every 8 levels, I just wish I didn't have to do it. I don't like doing it. And then the boss fights at the end of each world against Donkey Kong are all the same. And every time I see Donkey Kong's character model, who looks awesome, by the way, he looks so cool in this game, I'm like, why can't I play as him and beat up this lame version of Mario that I don't like controlling? Yeah, I want it to be Donkey Kong versus Mario. Let me take control of the ape and take revenge on Mario. That's what I want. But don't recommend this one. There are 30 better Mario games on Switch.
I'm glad I didn't pick it up.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a bummer. I will probably see it through because the game is so short. It's offensively short. Like we've said, like I'm almost done with it. So I'll probably just see it through to the credits so I can check it off. But that is Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and unfortunately, that's our show. We'll, of course, bookmark your emails for a future week when there's not a big Nintendo Direct to talk about, so we will hear about Kurt's science fair story next week, so that's a tease ahead for you. I'm looking forward to that. But that's another episode of the Toadstool Boardroom in the Books, a weekly Nintendo show here on Thursdays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, video version, audio on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you like to listen to your shows. You can find the show on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Send us an email, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. Justin, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at KOREIS. You can also find my guide for how to fight automatons at IGN.com in Helldivers 2, and I'm working on a review. Awesome. I don't know if I can say the name of it just yet. I should have a review in progress early impressions up this week, so keep an eye there.
Awesome. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Shrives93, where I will be just living. Just
shriving it up.
Just shriving it up.
Suika Game split screen.
Dropping fruit and talking about how I wish I had time to play Final Fantasy.
Yeah. You can find me at Logan J. Plant, and I am going to be reviewing the Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC. Ooh. So I'm dropping a review of that next week. It's out now. It's downloading on my Switch because it just dropped in North America. So I'm going to dive into that, and we will talk about that on next week's show. I'm looking forward to it because hopefully this will be a better Nintendo release than Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I'm sure it will be. But that's our show for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next time right here in the Toadstool Boardroom.